Hello, hello, check, check. I know that I'm plugged in and everything. I might even be ready to be starting. Imagine that. No one's here yet, though I feel so all alone. That's okay. Always enjoy my solitude. I'm a very autonomous individual, so that's how I roll. How are you guys, invisible people that aren't here? Okay, it's Saturday. I'm being a little loosey goosey. I thought I would just come on for a minute because I found some crazy stuff. And then as I was getting set up to come on, I found more crazy stuff. Imagine that. Where should I begin? Should I start with the crazy stuff or the crazy stuff? Cray or cray cray? We've got one in the house. Okay, I'll just start with all of my normal getting started routine. Please. Oh, it's Annabise. Good morning, Jazz. I just woke up. Well, good for you. But yeah, your sleep schedule is all upside down. Cattywampus. Cray cray. Hit your like button if you'd be so kind. I didn't see an email from you yet with your address to send you your prize from yesterday. Maybe you forgot. But let's see. Make sure you're still subscribed if you are subscribed, and if you're not, please consider just subbing up. There's no fee, there's no commitment. It just is it's like hitting the like button. It's like hitting the I like it a lot button. It helps. Every little bit helps. Share my video with somebody that you think might be interested in this crazy crap that I'm about to spill. Turn on your notification bell to ring. And some of this crazy crap, I think I'm the only one that knows. I can't believe it. I didn't want to know. But see, if I don't tell other people, then I could be in danger. But as long as I tell other people, then we're all in danger, right? Okay, so that stuff is about the Stark family in Boca Raton or Delray, Florida, to be more specific. I think I found out what the family business is. I think everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, talk to my dear friend Anna Bees and anyone else who feels like joining in. And all my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. And Anna B says, I forgot. I agree. Yeah. So the other thing is about the freaking Harvard University. And that one really got under my skin because I've been to Harvard campus and I had dreams of going to Harvard until I looked at the price tag and the acceptance rate, and it was kind of far from Ohio, big city stuff. I'm more of a country mouse where I went straight out of high school in Oxford, Ohio. It's like a cute little tiny town in the middle of some cornfields and cow pastures. And I'm not kidding. The town is like 6,000 people, Oxford, Ohio, and the university is like 20,000. And I loved it. But then I transferred to Evergreen out in Washington State. So I ended up going very, very far from home. But Olympia at the time, Olympia, Washington, was pretty freaking podunk, even though it was the state capital. It was probably literally the most podunk state capital in all of the United States of America back then. I think they've kind of gussied themselves up since then. But anyway, let's get back on track. Let's talk about Harvard. Okay, let's go with that one first because it's so flippin' insane. And then I'll just like go back and forth and jump all around. I've got a couple pages of notes. This freaking administration, you guys. So basically all of it is that's the common denominator. So that crazy letter that the White House administration sent to Harvard a week ago yesterday, and then Harvard responded with homie, don't play that game. You can keep your $2 billion and shove it where the sun don't shine. Remember that? Because, they actually have like 50 billion in their back pocket. So they're good. They don't need you and you're threatening to withhold the 2 billion. Anna B's, you're not going to believe this. I just found this out right before I came on. I was watching Adam Mockler, and I'm so glad. So the White House responded to Harvard's rebuttal. Remember when Trumpster Fire said rebuttal? He couldn't think of the word. It's something any of us can do, but we're not president. Come on. And you'd think he'd have people and like a little thing in his ear reminding him how to talk or something. Anna Bees remembers. You remember the refuddling? You remember the Harvard back and forth? So just this morning, just now on this Adam Mockler video that dropped like 30 minutes ago, the White House responded to Harvard saying, no, thank you for your fascist regime, but we're good. We'll do it the way we do it. We've been around almost twice as long as this freaking country's been here. So bite me. Go Harvard. And that's where Weezer's from. They're one of my favorite bands. Rivers Cuomo, the lead singer. He was a Harvard dropout, but he did go back and finish. Anyway, back on track. The White House responded with, oh, did we send you that letter? Silly us. That was completely by accident. That wasn't, the send wasn't supposed to be hit. We were just like playing around. And then it gets worse, Anna Bees. I got to see your response to that. They literally said that letter was sent in error. It was an error to send it. It's like, yeah, it was. Glad you can tell, because the whole rest of the world could tell. But we all thought you were serious. But now they're turning it around and they're blaming it on Harvard, that Harvard, being the fancy smarty pants that they are, they should have known that it was an error because it's so freaking ludicrous. But see, a lot of what this administration does, I think, is so jacked, and they ask for the moon and they ask for it in like 20,000 different ways. Sort of like when your kid is like, can I get a pony for my birthday? Can I get a pony for my birthday? Can I get a pony for my birthday? Mom, can I get a pony for my birthday? And they just ask you like 4,000 times, thinking that maybe you'll accidentally say yes one time. That's what the freaking Trumpster Fire administration reminds me of. So, they're like, yeah, we're going to deport everybody, including the homegrowns. No trials for nobody. It's a huge waste of time. Trumpster Fire over here is filling up all the dockets with his own issues. So there's no time for anybody else to go through any proceedings. And we're going to cancel everything, including school, including health. We're going to cancel health. We're going to pocket all the money, and we're flying to Mars. That's pretty much how it's gone the first 90 days. I think we're just at about day 90. Dare I look? I'm pretty sure we're just under 90 days, maybe like 88 or 89. I know it feels like years, but it's just days. Anyway, I was hoping that they would do the same thing with, yeah, we didn't really win the election. We were just kidding. Everyone was supposed to know that we were just kidding because, yeah, how ludicrous is that, right? Seriously. Maybe that's where they're going to go with their rebuttal if and when they get busted. And I do think that that's coming. But again, I try not to get my hopes up. I try not to live in pipe dreamland, but I have to have hope. And it's only logical that they would be getting busted for that at some point in time, especially because Mr. Trumpster Fire's pissing off all of his billionaire friends, and they're all turning on him because he's messed up every fundamental thing that makes them billionaires. And like that can just fall between your fingers like sand or water, at this point. Like, okay, so you have a few billion, whatever. We'll just diminish the value of that to you owe us money, right? It feels like we were in purgatory, dear. Okay, so laugh or cry. So the Harvard letter was not only an accident, but Harvard should have known it was an accident. And for that, they're probably going to have to slap him with a $50 billion fine or something to try to make up for some of their lost Doge resources that never happened. But yeah, the White House is making lots of mistakes. It's nice that they can admit one once in a while. They admitted the whole Garcia mistake, shipping him off to El Salvador, but then they've kind of refuddled their own admission with, huh? I didn't say that. Did you say that? I didn't hear anybody talk. I mean, these guys are just pros, aren't they? Yeah, they're ridiculous. Oh, and look, I have my arrow back, my dear. I haven't even used it yet. I'm so excited. Woohoo. And we went to Costco last night, the whole freaking family. I mean, the one kid is in DC, but 5 of us, we all got in the car together like in the old days. We usually only do that on birthdays and holidays. We went to Costco. We got all new phones and the freaking Apple Watches too. So I'm stepping it up a notch. So excited. I've needed a new phone forever. But I just keep stopping shy of getting the chip in my head, getting the Neuralink from Elon. I mean, that's a joke. I would never do that. And you know how they envision that happening is like with this kind of like a sewing machine that goes on top of your skull. Anna, have you seen images of this? You can Google it. And it's like with lasers and stuff, they put in these tiny little strings of metal. And it has to be done by AI because it's too precise for humans to do it. So they do this like sewing machine thing in your head, and then you're like as smart as Trumpster fire. Isn't that? It's sickening. It's like, yeah, your body is its own ecosystem. It's got its own homeostasis. You can't mess with it. A lot of nature is like that. You cannot mess with. Don't underestimate the power of Mother Nature because she will win every single time. Okay. So what's this other crap I had to tell you guys? So what I came on for was that, I was going to take the day off because it's Saturday and tomorrow's Easter and, blah, 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 blah. So I was just chilling out, looking a bunch of stuff up because I love sleuthing when I have time. I just can't stop myself. My little brain is like bouncing off the walls, like, oh yeah, I wanted to look that up and that and that and that and the other thing. So a lot of times you're not going to find it on Google. I mean, Google's a monopoly and you can find a lot with it, but you have to take it with a grain of salt, right? Sort of like Snopes. Snopes says that they'll tell you like what's true and what's not true, but who are they to discern and what's their agenda? Because I pretty much always disagree with Snopes. Anyway, okay, the family, all of the plane crashes. So I was looking things up about plane crashes, the recent helicopter crashes and plane crashes, and what's causing it. I was just Googling it all kinds of ways, just all different things like scrambling and interference and malfunction and pilot error, all these types of things. So scrambling the instruments for a flight is a really easy thing to do. Intercepting any flight from the ground remotely is standard operations. I mean, for military anyway, right? But there is that capacity and ability all the time for every flight. And then it reminded me how when you fly, they say to turn off your cell phone during takeoff and landing, right? Because radio waves, electronic devices can interfere with the instruments, can interfere with the pilot's concentration and distraction. So there's cyber attacks. There's cyber attacks that happen from the ground. I guess they could happen in the air too, but cyber attacks that can take planes down. Like it's a thing. All this stuff is Googleable, but in particular, I was looking at the family in Florida. The one, like I said, in Delray, and what's the town just south of Delray that's bigger where the airport is? Oh, it's right on the edge of my brain. Where the airport is. So it's like Mar-a-Lago and then a tiny town and then Delray and then another tiny town and then the one that's on the edge of my brain. Dang it. Where's my Neuralink? Oh, and where did I put my phone? Come on. So the family is this just says Delray. Boca Raton. Okay. Phew. See, I couldn't think of it because I kept thinking Costa Rica. No, Boca Raton. Okay. So Boca Raton and then a small town and then Delray and then a small town and then Mar-a-Lago. So the family business for the Starks that were on that small airplane that crashed near the Boca Raton airport, about a 28-minute drive, according to Google, from Mar-a-Lago is where it crashed. And Robert Stark, okay, I'll just read you this and then I'll talk off the top of me brain. This is the AI overview. In Delray Beach, Florida, the Stark family is prominently involved in business, particularly in the realm of real estate and home development. Aldo Stark is a prominent developer with his company, Prestige Design Homes, known for creating luxury properties, including the $55 million Casa Maranello. So it's kind of in competition with the Mar-a-Lago. I could show you some photos. In fact, I think I'll use one for the thumbnail. It's outrageous. The only reason I didn't use it for the thumbnail is because I'm not yet convinced that Aldo Stark is part of the Stark family. But then it says this. And again, this might not be accurate. AI doesn't know as much as it thinks it knows. It thinks it's so smart, but it's not as smart as us humans. Sometimes it's smarter. Okay, admit it. Anyway, here's a more detailed look at the Stark family's involvement. Real estate and development. Aldo Stark through Prestige Design Homes, and the Stark family members, I'll get to that in a second, the 17-year-old daughter, the 54-year-old dad, and the 81-year-old granddad. So I don't know. Aldo Stark was not on the airplane, but this, okay. Aldo Stark, through Prestige Design Homes, is a developer known for building high-end homes in Delray Beach, including that $55 million Casa Maranello. He is also building other luxury homes in Stone Creek Ranch, a gated enclave in Delray Beach. Family business. Robert Stark, who was the 54-year-old dad on the plane. Robert Stark was the owner of US Info-Comm Inc, a national IT and communications company. Sorry, Robert Stark was the 81-year-old. His son, the 54-year-old, is Stephen Stark. So, and then it says, with his son, Stephen Stark, eventually taking over as president. Other family members, Brooke Stark, Stephen Stark's daughter, was also part of the family. Robert Stark, the grandfather, was an avid aerobatics pilot. Recent tragedy. Robert, Stephen, and Brooke Stark were tragically killed in a plane crash near Boca Raton Airport on April 12th of 2025. And I don't think they've said anything about the potential cause of that yet. Um, so yeah, they were headed to Tallahassee for a visit of the Florida State University campus. That I think is a coincidence that Tallahassee is where that mass shooting just happened a few days ago at Florida State University. So maybe there's coincidences when it comes to unalivings, but let me just read you a little bit more. The plane went down at about 10:20 a.m. on Military Trail near Glades Road in Boca Raton on April 11th. Okay, so not April 12th. The family of 3 people unalived aboard a small plane that crashed Friday morning has released a statement following the tragic incident. The family said each victim was deeply loved by family and friends, wanting to thank everyone for their condolences and support in this difficult time, and asked for privacy as they continue to grieve. Robert Stark of Boca Raton, Stevens 81, Stephen Stark 54 of Delray Beach, and Brooke Stark 17, also from Delray Beach, were all aboard the Cessna 310 plane that went down at about 10:20 a.m. on Military Trail near Glades Road after departing the airport, according to the FAA. The plane was headed to Tallahassee International Airport when it crashed. According to the statement, Robert, Stephen, and Brooke Stark were grandfather, father, and daughter. Robert was adventurous, kind, and adored his family and started his business from the ground up, the statement read. He was the kind of man who could build anything, do anything. The statement said Robert lived in South Florida for 4 decades, and his plane was the first on the ground to support those impacted by Hurricane Dorian. Robert's son, hey, Mrs. Amir, Stephen Stark, took over the family business, but was a father and husband first, passionate musician, hilarious and kind man who made every room feel like the exact place you wanted to be, the statement said. Stephen's daughter, Brooke Stark, was described as a brilliant student and kind-hearted friend who would have gone to change the world with her bright smile and smart wit. The FAA and National Transportation Safety Board will investigate the cause of the crash. The NTSB will lead the investigation. It's just hideous tragedy. So let's see. Kind of like getting a lobotomy. That's funny. It's like a reverse lobotomy, an unlobotomy. Orlando. Oh, right. When I was trying to think of Boca Raton. See, I've never been to Boca Raton, so that's one of my problems. And I always forget where it is, like north of Miami, south of Miami. Sometimes I picture it being on the Gulf side. But then they went and changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to something else I can't remember. And so I try to forget about all of that. I don't know Florida at all. It's pretty. I mean, it's flat and it's hot, and there's a lot of crazy people there. But it's beautiful. And in the winter, especially, winter in Florida is hot to me. So there's no way I could stay there anytime but the winter. Even the winter's hard because it's so humid. But it is really, really pretty. And I've been to Disney World once, and it's flippin' amazing. But it kind of attracts, I think, a lot of people, and I'm not being flippant here. I think it attracts a lot of people that are bipolar or have bipolar tendencies, and then it's so hot, and then a lot of them do methamphetamine, and so you've got these bipolar types with wicked brain melt from the heat and then frying their brains with substances. So there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on there. Like Casey Anthony is a perfect example. Her family was actually from Ohio, I think, when they moved down there. Remember, her dad was a law enforcement and her mommy was a nurse. So terrible. And she worked at Universal Studios, the imaginary Universal Studios, not the real one, the imaginary. Ugh, ugh. So yeah, like the whole joke is like Florida man, like, what did Florida man do this time? Florida man wrestles with alligator. Florida man bites giant python's head off or something. All the crazy Florida man stories. Anyway, let's get back on track. I mean, there's a lot of crime in Florida, so it's a good place for true crime, right? And there's a lot of good content creators down there too. Okay. Hello, Mrs. Jazz and Anna Bees, Mrs. Amir, late but made it. You are right on time, my dear. Good to see you. And yeah, she's so gross, Casey Anthony. I don't even like to bring her up, but when I talk about Florida, she always comes to mind. That was absolutely hideous, and she's absolutely hideous. So let me see what else I have here. So it sounds like that other Stark family member, Aldo, might be like the brother of Robert Stark or the brother of Stephen Stark. I'm gonna find out, but it definitely, from the way that AI overview is written, and it might be inaccurate, it sounds like that's all the same family and business affiliation. So the real estate development, which is what I had suspected, but I didn't have enough to make a claim that that might be accurate until this morning. And then also the whole IT thing. So, Donnie's the real estate developer, and Elon Big E is the IT guy, right? He has it right on his t-shirt. So again, like that family going down is going to hurt that business, a very local business that, if they built that structure that is basically just like another Mar-a-Lago, if that's theirs, which it looks like it is, I don't know if they own it or if they built it for somebody else or what. I was trying to research it more, and I will continue down that road, but I wanted to just come on live with my preliminary findings. And then, yeah, like I have been saying about that family, and not to mention the Stark family and the poetic justice or something there with the Game of Thrones Stark family, because all of this insane administration is so much like Game of Thrones. It's so brute force and no thought and just out for the jugular, and putting poison in people's drinks at the family wedding. Why not? It'll look like an accident. It will look like they did it to themselves naturally, accidentally, right? They did it to themselves. They drank the thing. Nobody made them. We don't know who put anything in there. I mean, uh anyway, that family, the Stark family, and then the Groff family, the one up in upstate New York, the one with the 6 like rock stars of professionalism in the medical field, in the bioengineering, in finances, in law. Remember, the son's girlfriend was headed to law school this fall, and she specialized already in um, immigration laws. She'd already worked at a firm down in Miami. And see, she had worked at a firm down in Miami. So that family that lived in upstate New York, but I bet that they lived in the winters in Florida the way so many extremely wealthy people do. They summer up north and then they winter in Florida. The snowbirds, right? And they all own their own private jets. And yeah, I mean, I know it's a really big state. It's really overpopulated. There's literally millions and millions of people there. But When you're dealing with the upper crust, with the 1%, it becomes a very small world. And when you're dealing with any profession, that profession has its own little community. And then, especially if it's in a localized region. So, like the localized regional community of real estate development in the Mar-a-Lago area or in the Miami area, or the IT development in Boca Raton area, and what else? And then that family from Spain, the mom and the dad who were the head honchos, like, what did one of the newspapers call them? I think they called them IT aristocracy. They used the word aristocracy for both the mom and the dad. And what upsets me so much is that so many people don't realize that the mom was pretty much just as high powered as her husband. She wasn't the CEO, but she was aristocracy within the Siemens company. And then the fact that they're traveling internationally when our country is so wonky and treating travelers and visitors like they're gang members. And then, especially with them being from Spain, because, you could have stuff going on there. So it seems to me that all three of those flights could have easily been sabotaged from a cyber attack, intercepted, scrambling the instruments, loosening something that isn't going to create a problem until landing. Like the one up in the Catskills, they were trying to land, the ones that almost were on the border of Massachusetts and Connecticut and New York, and they were almost in a state park. And then the one in Boca Raton had just taken off, and then the one over the Hudson River was mid-flight. They'd already been flying for about 15 minutes, so they weren't taking off or landing, but that was the only one of those three that wasn't an airplane. That was the helicopter. But remember, the pilot who was flying that chopper was military, so he knew what he was doing. He had a lot of experience. Florida man throws alligator into a McDonald's during a robbery. Is this today's newspaper, Annabese? Or is this something that you saw online, or are you making it up? I mean, I'm sure it's happened more than once, right? There's alligators everywhere. It is creepy. And the giant anacondas everywhere too, or the giant pythons. Ugh, mostly in the Everglades, but they get out of the Everglades. Anna, that's insane. All the creeps seem to be coming out of Florida too. Well, and the trafficking is huge in Florida, because it's right there on the coast. When you have coastline, when you have boats able to come and go, you're going to get a lot more trafficking. So you're going to get legal trafficking as well as illegal trafficking. When I say legal trafficking, I mean like shipping, right? Imports and exports. But whenever you have imports and exports, you're going to have things getting smuggled. And I'm listening while I prep for an outing with the kids. Hubby went to Pakistan. Just want to cheer them up with a vintage Easter fair. How cute. Yeah, my kids are getting big enough. I think we'll probably just do church in the morning and no Easter eggs, maybe. I'm sure my 13-year-old would like Easter eggs. And the bigger ones, they'd like them too. But, at $1,000 a pop, I don't think it's in our budget. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've heard people talk about dyeing like marshmallows or potatoes in lieu of eggs because they're cheaper. That sounds like fun, Mrs. Amir. No, it happened years ago. Yeah, like I said, I'm sure it happened more than once too. a Florida man throws alligator into McDonald's during a robbery. Okay. So the big E and the PP, from what was previously known as the USSR. Yeah, I think that's right. Anyway, have they been charged with election interference in other countries? I was going to Google that and I didn't get to. Let me see if I can Google it real quick now, because I know that there were allegations, but I'm just going to Google P-Man and E-Man charged with election interference, because they need to be charged in our country, right? And they'll be like, oh, we were just kidding. You guys are all so stupid. We thought you'd figure it out. Putin and Elon charged with election tampering. Man, it's so funny. The first two articles go back to the election time, and then I mean, you got to remember this stuff is all scrubbed and controlled by the powers that be. Yeah, it's not really hitting much, because I was asking about other countries, not ours, charged with a. Let's see, fraud in other countries. Like, I think France was charging them, weren't they? And maybe another country as well. Um, the Kremlin. Yeah, it's weird that it just goes back to all this stuff in November on top. Like, there's nothing more recent than that. Give me a break. That's really stupid. Here's January 8th, 2025. 13 times Musk meddled in politics. Um, let's see. The clown dictator. And then, yeah, I'm gonna quit fubbing you. All right. So yeah, I know that France was starting that, but maybe I just need to put France in there. See, I say no, I'm going to put it down and then I pick it right back up. See how bad I am? Where's my Neuralink? France election fraud. I'm going to put that in. France election fraud. See what comes up. And election integrity. I mean, they've all made statements pretty much copying to it, right? With the American election. So here's something from February 12th. Election interference, how Putin and Musk are weakening European democracy in elections. Yeah. So just last month. The extent of fraud in Russia's presidential election begins to emerge last month. Oh, really? Just all of a sudden? Elon Musk shared a list of countries where mail-in voting is banned, because I only found this out a couple of days ago that most of the people who do mail-in are Democrats. So I was fascinated by that. I had no idea. Like 80%, I think, is what the number is, or might be. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention was Letitia James is the New York State Attorney General who has won a $454 million lawsuit against Donnie. And so currently, right now in today's news, there's like a smear campaign, it looks like to me, for Letitia James, saying that she's got some illegal goings ons with her mortgage or something. And she's a black woman and she's in a position of power and she's gone toe to toe with Trump and she's been winning. So, I mean, it just goes with the territory, right? So earlier, before I got all of that information, earlier today, I wanted to clarify about the beautiful story yesterday of that dog named Buford who rescued the little 2-year-old boy named Cody. That story had happened earlier in the week. I only saw it flooding the internet yesterday, so I thought it had just happened the day before, but it happened a day or two or maybe even 3 before that. So it was in Arizona and now it's made its way across the country, national news. I guess it just wasn't top priority when you had, all this immigration stuff going on and educational institutions getting slammed and barred and getting hogtied. So it's a fabulous thing. But also I found out what type of dog it is. Did I write it down? I hope I can remember because I might not have written it down. But it is a dog. Oh, I think I put it in the title. Or no, I put it in the description of yesterday's video. So let me see if I can pull that up because yeah, it's not coming to me off the top of my head. But yeah, we'll get wrapped up here shortly too. Let's see. Yesterday's video description. The ranch dog. I just can't believe that story. So the type of breed is an Anatolian Pyrenees. The breed is known for being protective companions. Did I say it right? Anatolian, Anatolian, I think. Pyrenees. So it's a mixed breed. That's 2 different breeds. Like the Anatolian is some kind of shepherd, and then the Pyrenees is a Pyrenees, right? Anyway, it looks a lot like Kylie Rodney's family's dog. Big white, like fur looking kind of like a polar bear almost. Like very large dog. Anyway, I was happy that I was able to figure out the breed. And I'm just so happy for that little boy and for the family. And it wasn't until I was looking into it more after the live yesterday that I was like, was the little boy wearing shoes? I hope he was wearing shoes if he walked 7 miles. Because even with shoes, his feet would probably be beat up with like blisters and stuff. But without shoes, he had to have shoes on because I think it was cold there. That's another question. What was the weather like? It's spring. Like yesterday, it was like 70, 75 where I am. It's going to be that nice for the next few days. But like where that plane crashed in upstate New York on Saturday on Passover, that was in snow, upstate New York, just a week ago today. And that's to be expected. But yeah, not surprised about the that the good news got pushed to the back burner because that was such good news. And then the whole thing with Garcia getting to have a sit down conversation with the senator from Maryland. But then the fact that President Buford like staged their table with those glasses with like the sugar or salt around the rim and little cherries on them. And the senator said that neither of them touched those glasses. Like they were sitting there. He said maybe they had some coffee and then they had some water. And then the waiter set those glasses down with the cherries in them before they took the picture, but they didn't touch them. Of course they didn't touch them. I mean, they're probably laced with strychnine or something. It's probably not sugar or salt. It's probably rat poison around the rim there. Okay, and then this is a really disgusting quote from Caroline, my least favorite of all the Trumpster fire press secretaries. Like, I didn't think it could get any worse than Sean Spicer. I didn't think it could get any worse than Sarah Huckabee. But man, Caroline with a K is worse than both of those two put together, in my humble opinion. And I think a lot of people dislike her as much as I dislike her. She's really bratty. Like she's a spoiled brat. She grew up in a billionaire family. She thinks she's so cute with her blonde hair and, marries this guy 30 years older than herself after she gets pregnant out of wedlock. And then she tries to act like she's all pure and that she never kissed a boy before. It's like, yeah, right. I believe you not. Anyway, she's just so bad at lying. And like I always say, for that, we can thank her. If she was a good liar, it would make the whole thing more challenging, right? I mean, it's still challenging because she's like a freaking pit bull. She just won't give up. She's just like, yeah, that's my lie and I'm sticking to it. And yeah, I'm going to double down. Push me any further and I'll triple down, quadruple down, Cinco de Mayo down. Okay, so she said this. This is a direct quote from her about El Presidente in El Salvador and El Presidente here in the States. That they have an incredible diplomatic relationship. Donnie has an incredible diplomatic relationship with the president of El Salvador. Incredible diplomatic relationship with a thug, with the coolest dictator in the world. Like, that's not a good thing to have an incredibly diplomatic relationship with somebody like that. It's actually a good thing if somebody like that hates you, because then that tells you everything you need to know. If somebody like that likes you, then you have something to worry about, right? And then there's that disgusting scum of the earth, Stephen Miller. OMG. I don't even know what his job is other than to be completely disgusting. The skinny white guy who's like not even white, he's like gray. He looks like the color, trigger warning. In my opinion, his face is like the color of what flesh might look like if it was waterlogged and not alive. He's really gross. So Stephen Miller said that our government is not going to kidnap Garcia out of El Salvador. He used the word kidnap. We're not going to kidnap Garcia out of El Salvador. It's like, but you kidnapped him to El Salvador. Why wouldn't you just kidnap him back? But no, you say that you have this incredibly diplomatic relationship with the president, so you shouldn't have to kidnap him back. You should be able to do like you did with Harvard and just say, oh, oops, our bad. Can we have a do-over? Oopsie. Which it seems like the whole freaking administration is like one big oopsie do-over. So, oh, and Miller's Jewish. Isn't that weird? It's weird to me because he seems so much like an anti-Semite, but he's Jewish and he's married, which is really creepy. He's married to another person who works as a Trump sycophant, and that's how they met. So that makes sense. But they already made 3 little babies, which is, I don't know, just has me shaking my head. Um, and one last thing I want to decipher from these notes, that this is what I wrote, that the radical right has never been known to be human or right when it comes to human rights. That wasn't my quote. That was probably on this channel that's brand new to me. Have you heard of the channel called Hysteria? It's really good. It's really good. I'll put a link to it in the description. I just found it today. I've heard of it before, but I used to be like really streamlined with the channels that I watched. First of all, I didn't want to learn about anything other than Kylie Rodney, right? And the Watts case and a few others. But I really limited my choices of what I would watch on YouTube because I find it too easy to get sucked into somebody who's bogus. And then it just like melts your brain because you don't know. I mean, maybe some of what they said you knew was true and that's how they tricked you. But a lot of times these channels, I think, have agendas for sure. And anyway, I think it's intelligent to be careful what you watch. But then I get so excited when I find a good channel. Like you guys sometimes tell me about really good channels that I get excited about. Once in a while, I just stumble across one myself. And I like that. So I like to share with you guys the new channels that I've found or that are new to me. Like Hysteria has been around for a long time. I used to always go straight to see when the channel started, and I'd try to do a little research to see like what the channel was about. But there's so many videos to watch right now. It's like it's just a flooding of information. It's just exploding. So I don't take as much time to look at when did they start their channel and what is their mission statement. Like I have a mission statement, um and I have over 1,000 videos, it says. um yeah, it's interesting to look at the stats. I mean, some channels have 60 videos and a lot more subs. Other channels have, like, House Sparks has like 6,000 videos. But he's a professional. He's been doing it for a long time. He's got like full staff and everything. And he's a machine. He just goes and goes and goes. He does like 2 or 3 lives a day usually, and then he plays in a band, and I think he's a parent, and he does other stuff too. Hashtag other things, right? Um Anna, it is vintage train ride ox carts and plane, but right now staying away from the planes. 2 plane crashes in 2 difficult fares this year. I can't take that risk. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like fun, but yeah, stay away from the planes. I know, I know. If I go visit my grandbaby soon, it's a 6-hour drive or just like a 1-hour plane ride. And I'd like to do the plane ride, but now with all this stuff going on, I don't know. I don't know. I still need to get a ticket or drive, one or the other. But at least we got our new cell phones yesterday. That was a big deal. That took so long. OMG. And, it's sort of like buying a car. I didn't think we'd accomplish it all in one fell swoop. I thought we'd have to circle back around and finish it up today. But fortunately, we didn't have to, so I could do this live. And I think I'm going to wrap it up because that's pretty much all I got, I think, in my notes. Oh, I read you guys that one thing. I was going to, what was I going to look at? I was going to look and see if I could find a letter about the Harvard thing that I started out with that I learned of from, I think it was Luke Beasley. that craziness with the government. Harvard letter from White House. Follow up. Let's see what comes up. Follow up. OMG. It's just so funny just reading the titles. Oh, and there's a whole bunch of protests today, I believe. Oh, here it is. Here's the letter. This is the original letter. So I don't think that that's gonna. Yeah, that's the original letter. So that one's not going to be too entertaining. That one's pretty boring. So let's see what the Guardian says 4 hours ago. The showdown between Harvard and the White House day by day. I'll just read a little bit. After months of mounting pressure on the university to defend itself, Harvard rejects a series of Trump administration demands. Here's what happened by Anna Betts. And it's just today at 9 o'clock this morning. So it's literally like less than 4 hours old. It took Harvard, and I'll put a link in the description. It took Harvard less than 72 hours to reject a series of demands put forth by the Trump administration, setting up a high-stakes showdown between the U.S.'s wealthiest and oldest university and the White House. But I thought that University of Pennsylvania, I thought was the oldest university in the country. I'll have to look back into that. Benjamin Franklin founded it, and that's where Elon, the big E, and the little T got a couple of their degrees. Donnie went to the business school. I think it's called Wharton School of Business. And then Elon, big E, probably did like math or engineering or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, I thought that was the oldest university. The swift rebuttal on Monday came after weeks of mounting pressure from Harvard faculty, students, alumni, and the city of Cambridge, all urging the university to defend itself and higher education as a whole against what they saw as an unprecedented attack from Washington. I really feel like the administration is crumbling, and they're trying to pretend that they're not, and they're trying to distract. They're doing that whole, they're in the throes of death, and they're just going to keep fighting all the way through to the end, just like the evil dragon that they are. Harvard was one of the first universities to face national scrutiny following October 7, 2023, in the ensuing campus protests over Israel's war in Gaza, as critics accused the school and its leaders of failing to adequately combat anti-Semitism on its campus. And this February, just 2 weeks into Trump's presidency, the administration's new federal task force to combat anti-Semitism announced that it would be visiting 10 universities, including Harvard, in an effort to eradicate anti-Semitic harassment in schools. This war, man, it's so freaking divisive. I thought he was going to end it on day one or before that. Come on. And now he's just like, yeah, whatever, I give up. I tried. I did what I could, and I'm done trying. Whatever. Talk to the hand. Whatever. Okay. Soon after, the White House went after Columbia University, first launching a review of its federal funding and then revoking $400 million in federal funds from the school, citing the college's failure to protect students from anti-Semitic harassment amid the campus protests against the war in Gaza. In response, groups of Harvard faculty, alumni, students, and Cambridge community members began calling on their own university leaders through protests, letters, op-eds, and resolutions to publicly oppose the administration's actions and to resist any future demands and pressures from the White House. I don't want to read all this. Let's see. But then it gets to the good part right away. Okay. On March 6th, so that was 2 weeks ago. No, 6 weeks ago. We're in April. Sorry. Brain fart there. On March 6th, the day before Columbia's funding was cut, Harvard professors Ryan Enos and Stephen Levitsky penned an op-ed in the Crimson, Harvard's student newspaper, criticizing the university's silence and urging Harvard leaders to set an example by making a firm public defense of democracy. And I really appreciate them doing that, because I think that it's making a huge difference nationwide and worldwide. Like, they are being a world leader in that sense, in my opinion. Days later, immigration authorities arrested Palestinian activist and recent Columbia graduate Mohammed Khalil, and Trump officials warned 60 universities of potential ties to anti-Semitism investigations. That week, nearly 200 Harvard affiliates gathered on campus and protested Khalil's detention and urged the university to condemn the administration's actions. Blah, 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 blah. Let me just try to get to the good part. Can we skip to the good part? That is a lyric from an AJR song called, I think it's called Skip to the Good Part. I'll put a link in the description. Separately, in another letter, more than 1,000 Harvard alumni urged Harvard's president, Alan Garber, to defend academic freedom and free speech and to take a stronger stand. We cannot appease the Trumpster-fire administration. It always asks for more, the letter warned. It's so true. James Stoddard, who drafted and circulated the letter, said that he and a group of other alumni were looking for ways they could make their voices heard. And then they got more than 1,200 signatures, and then we're still in late March, so I'm trying to get caught up. April 3rd, Trump officials sent Harvard the letter. And then that same day, Enos and Levitsky published a third op-ed appeasing Trumpster fire damages Harvard in America, urging the university to resist and take a stand. And then early April, so that's where we are. Unanimous resolution, city council, April 11th, we're getting closer. Next day, the letter included a list of sweeping demands. Wall Street Journal. Harvard released its statement on Monday, April 14th, and then released the administration's letter from a week ago yesterday, this past Monday. And then, my goodness, this is such a long article. I'm glad I'm just speeding through it. Here we go. Where are we? It just goes on for like 1,000 years. Following Harvard's announcement, federal officials froze over $2 billion in grants. Trumpster fire threatened to strip Harvard of its tax-exempt status and its ability to enroll international students. They did that to OSU, Ohio State University, you know, the school whose national trophy Vice President Butterfingers tried to destroy at the White House the other day. His alma mater, I think is how you say it. I can't speak. Okay. Okay, I think here we go. We're getting closer. On Thursday, so just the day before yesterday, the Trump administration accused Harvard in yet another letter of failing to report large foreign donations to the federal government as is required by law. It's funny because they're always accusing people of doing the things that they do. And what do you want to bet that there's been so much money accepted by the Trumpster fire from PP specifically and other countries, hashtag other countries, you know, maybe El Salvador, maybe North Korea, hashtag other countries. And then Trying to get to this letter that just came like yesterday or today. Where is it? Is it not even in here? Oh, screw you, article. If Harvard, the richest university in human history, cannot stand up and fight back to unquestionably illegal demands, then what other institution is going to feel that it's safe for them to do so? So as I read that, it kind of reminded me of Reese Witherspoon and Legally Blonde, that whole thing about Harvard. And also Cher in the movie Clueless when she's doing her book report and she's just up there talking about all this stuff, which is exactly what Matt Gaetz reminded me of when he was doing his little news thing recently. I'll put a link in the description to the House Sparks where he's breaking down the Matt Gaetz thing. The thing where he's got so much Botox in his face, I thought it was like 20 years ago when he was like 20 years old, and then found out that it was just like from a week ago. He just like upped the Botox. Whatever Christy Nome didn't use, he did. Oh man, I mean, don't these people realize like it looks so gross and obvious when you pump your face full of that crap, and then it's even worse when your face deflates? Like, get real, man. I guess you just get plastic surgery and do a nip tuck before the next Botox. I don't know. It's just crazy. The self-obsession. It's like maybe take some of that money and, buy some shoes for some poor kids or something. Just an idea. Or just keep pumping botulism toxicity into your face. That'll make the world a better place for sure, right? All right, I'm going to wrap up since I'm just kind of rambling now. Happy Easter, you guys. Do you remember True Crime Time? He disappeared. He was sus AF. Hey, True Crime Time, isn't that the one that I totally busted? He started his channel. I'm saying they started their channel on Christmas. I always thought that it was Brett Payne, to be quite frank. Started the channel on Christmas after the Idaho 4. I think their second post had the photograph from the back of the corner club with the man without a face and Kaylee and Maddie and Jack D and Adam and Jack Showalter, and who I believe is Fry, man without a face. And people try to say, oh no, that's the owner of the bar. It's like, no, that's not the owner of the bar. I forget his last name, but his first name is Mark. He's got a long last name. And he's a lot stockier, a lot younger. He's probably taller too, but his shoulders are huge. He's like a big guy. Small fry is a small fry. And everything about his demeanor, his posture, his hat, his sunglasses on his hat, his thumbs in his jacket or hooked onto his belt loops, whatever it is, the jacket, everything, the like angle of his shoulders slouching, all of it. It's Fry. It's Fry. You can't convince me otherwise. And what in the F is he doing hanging out at the bar on Saturday night at 1:30 in the morning with all the college kids? Sure, it's all right. You do what you want. It's a free country. But why didn't you mention that you were there ever? And then why'd you quit your job and go run for the hills with your tail between your legs, you freak? Anyway, True Crime Time was so weird. They had like 5,000 subs in a week and then like 20,000 subs, I think, in a month. And they're all, oh, thanks, you guys, acting like they're just a normal channel. It's like, no, you don't know how to make a fake channel. That's too many subs in the first week. That's too many subs in the first month. Unless you're somebody famous like Don Lemon and you're starting your own channel, Rachel Maddow, and you hit the ground running. But when you're just, just a channel, just a true crime channel, no, you're not going to get your subs that fast. But then I think they stopped growing their subs because I was calling them out. And I was trying hard to not call them out too loudly, but then finally I couldn't take it anymore after a few months. And then because they always had the inside scoop. They always had the information that you would only have if you worked for the police department and you were on that case and you were in that house. And like the funny thing is they don't realize how obvious they're being. So finally I made a big deal about it. I think that the video where I call them out is the one that I have on my homepage, actually. And then as soon as I made that video, they stopped making content. And I felt like such a meanie. I'm just kidding. I just, like I thought, well, I could be wrong, but they're making me feel like I'm probably right. And then they did start making a little bit of content recently. Oh, and their profile picture. You guys, I'm so glad I thought of saying this before wrapping up, because I always like to have these zingers at the end so people will watch till the end. That makes a big difference in your algorithm. But no, I'm not like trying to plot it like that. Anyway, this is a big zinger. Remember, True Crime Time. If I'm thinking of the right channel, because there's a few that have a very similar um, title handle, like True Crime Design and a couple others. They all came out around the same time. They were all like Idaho 4 channels. True Crime Time has the moon and the tree line, the black and white. It's a really cool image. That's their profile picture. And Brent Kopaka had that exact same profile picture on his Facebook or Instagram, the exact same. And I did look it up, and it is like an image that you'll find if you Google like night skyline with moon and trees, black and white. It'll show up. But still, he never changed it, or they never changed it. I'm pretty sure that it's still the same. Let me look real quick. And then I'll wrap up. I promise I won't keep you guys any longer. We all got stuff to do. It's 1:00. Let's see. I'm just dying to see now. They're probably changing it right now as I speak. No, I don't think they watch my channel. But they might have like a little algorithm thing when people mention them that they zoom in. Like, what? They're talking about me? And it's so funny when you put in the True Crime Time, you get this True Crime ASMR. That's some weird stuff, the ASMR. And it's not, I think I have to put in Idaho 4 too. Is that it? Is that? Use kayak to compare hundreds of tracks. Is that the channel? Oh, did they change their thing? Oh no. They're making all kinds of changes. No, it's not that one, because this one says that they joined August 17th of 2020. The one that I'm thinking of, and there could be two with the same name, because yeah, you can have same name as others. And this is True Crime 911. Let's see. It's not coming up. I'll have to research it later, so I'm not boring you guys with all of this. How annoying. I was hoping to just get a look-see real quick. Nothing's ever easy, is it? And they might have deleted their channel, the one that I'm talking about. Do you know? Yeah, that's the one. Because the one that I found that says True Crime Time 911 started in 2020, and this True Crime Time started December 25th, 2022. So like 4 days before Koberger's arrest, and they just had all the inside scoop. Like they were like the first ones to know that there was an arrest. I mean, it just seemed like, maybe it was somebody from the police department that was supposed to be like infiltrating YouTube or something. I don't know. Let's see. I'd give one more search and then I'll set it down. I promise. It probably doesn't bug you guys as much as it bugs me. Yeah. Well, they didn't make any videos for like a year when I called them out. So yeah, I'll do more research and try to see if I can find them. And yeah, that profile picture that matches Brent Kopaka's. You gotta love it when the criminal's telling themselves, huh? I'm so glad that you're here, Anna B. As you said, I'm glad you came on. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to come on, other than finding some super fascinating information that I just wanted to share right away, was that my freaking pointer finger thing, my arrow was working again for the first time in days. And I was like, what a relief. That'll make it so much easier to do a video. I mean, I could do it with the touch screen, but it was tricky. Like, your fingers would sometimes fumble and stuff. It was super annoying. That was Fry in the corner uh, hat or bat. Yeah. Oh, it just drives me crazy when people try to say it's that Mark, like Trackenberger or something like that. Um, that was ridiculous. The owner of the corner cone. And even if it was, then why doesn't he come out and talk about being there that night and seeing everybody right before it happened, right? I mean, that whole case is just sus AF, and I still try to keep up with the shenanigans, but it is just shenanigan after shenanigan after shenanigan. And then it makes it to mainstream media. Like, I don't think mainstream media even knows about the whole frozen shock phase that turned into like 12 hours of lag time. They're just like, it was on World News Tonight with David Muir last night or the night before, and they were talking about one of the survivors. It's like, you mean witnesses that didn't see anything? One of the witnesses that didn't witness anything? It's like, how can you say survivor when nothing even happened? They weren't victims, allegedly. Um, let's see, owner of what is the corner bar called where they hang out? Corner Club. Corner Club, Moscow. And then, you got to wonder about all this freaking Moscow stuff. Mark Trivelpiece is his name, current owner. And he's owned it with his business partner, Stacy Kite, since 2007. So he's owned it for 18 years. It's a sports bar. The Vandal Bar. That's cute. Anyway, yeah, I'll do more research on that. Oh, well, if I try to show you a photo of him, it's so hard to see with the phone. Hopefully, when I get the new phone, which will probably be in just a couple of days. But let me see just this one picture that shows up of him pouring a drink. If you can see how effing stocky this man is, even with my bad lighting and glare and everything. So yeah, he's wearing a ball cap, but so am I. That's no identifying factor. His face is so much rounder than the other guy. His shoulders are like a third again as big as Fry's. And his beard isn't gray because he's not as old as Fry. Fry is about my age. This Mark Trivelpiece is like 10 years younger than us. We're in our mid to late 50s, and I don't think Mark Trivelpiece is even 50 years old, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm just fascinated to show you the pictures of how huge he is. And here he is looking even huger. Oh my goodness, wait until you see this. OMG. Look at this guy. He's wearing his red t-shirt. It's a side photo. Part of his girth is cut off by those white beer cups that are on the bar, blocking his gut. He is giant. Like most of the pictures of him that I've seen, he obviously worked out a lot and lost weight. If that's him, it says that it is, but that doesn't mean that it is. You know how reliable the internet is, right? Okay. I get so caught up in my phone, don't we all? It's like a drug. Okay, I'm signing off, you guys. It's been an hour and 20 minutes, and I keep saying I'm done, I'm done. But I just love being on with you guys so much. It gets my blood going. So thanks for being here. And again, happy Easter bunny rabbits and eggs and carrots and all that stuff. I love the Easter decorations, and I always do the eggs. So this will be the first year we don't, if we don't. I mean, we have some of the plastic eggs with candy. Like the kids have got to have their candy and then they won't complain. That's all that matters. And then, we love our church family. So it's always nice. You get a huge gathering of like the most people of the year on Easter. And our pastor, she's awesome. I've known her forever and I love her and she's really good. So it'll be nice to have all that family time. Almost the whole family, just not the grandbaby and not the grandbaby's papa. All right, you guys have a lovely Saturday, and I probably won't see you guys tomorrow, but hopefully on Monday. But you never know. We'll see what happens. Crazy things are happening. And, I'm almost forgetting that weekends is when the craziest crap happens. So last weekend was when Shapiro's place was torched, his governor's mansion. And it was also when the Groff family crashed their airplane in the Catskills Mountains. So both of those things happened last Saturday. So tomorrow's Adolf's birthday. And there were a lot of rumors for a long time with this new administration that they were planning some crap for celebrating Big Daddy's B-Day. Oh, man. I think that love always wins. I think that we've got the Lord on our side, right? The resurrection. It doesn't queue up either now when I check it. I'm sure they deleted the whole account. I think they did, Mrs. Amir, because they literally stopped making videos like immediately when I called them out, and I'm like, who am I? I'm just this little channel. I mean, I had a lot more viewers at the time, but still, I thought it was wild that they were, it was such a knee jerk reaction. And then I think they went like 9 months without producing anything. And then they produced like one or two things a few months ago. And yeah, I bet you that they deleted their channel because they don't want like the defense attorneys to be looking into like the ISPNs and stuff. I bet you anything. I know I took a lot of screenshots of their crap, like especially the profile pic, because I was comparing it to Kopaka's, because I think that it might have been like the mirror image, but it was definitely the exact same. I mean, it wasn't like similar to, it was the exact same. So that's okay. We like it when you tell on yourselves. It helps us put the pieces of the puzzle together. And yeah, it's a puzzle for sure. And here we are, like probably day 89. I'm going to pick up my phone one last time, I swear, just to ask how many days of the Trump administration. I bet it's 89, I think, maybe 88. How many days since the inauguration? 88 days, 5 hours, 0 minutes. We're not counting. We're not holding our breath. So yeah, 88 days. Okay. All right. Peace out. Love and light. Thanks so much for joining me, sisters. And we will see you on the next one. Have a lovely holiday. And remember to email me your address again, please, Annabese, Mrs. Amir. Thanks so much for being here, people. Love and light. See you soon. Happy Easter.